The sun shines as we head back south. Welcome to the Integrity OCTANE Series once again. After Talladega week, where everything was as chaotic as it gets, we're back to the more traditional style of racing for race number 11 on the 2025 calendar. As we get to business tonight, the OCTANE Series heads back to Fort Worth, Texas. This is the Texas Motor Speedway, and qualifying is on the move for our 200-mile, 134-lap main event. The intermediates so far this season have been abundant, and as always, being good at these 1.5-mile tracks is a great indicator of who's going to come away with the championship. The title battle so far has been dominated by rookie drivers, including the breakout season of Scott Eckridge. As it stands, the championship points will tell you a very similar score. It has Nate Campbell at the top of the board, another rookie who's made a big mark. We're going to get to business here as qualifying continues on. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Troitz, commentating and producing. Zach Scrintinol has himself up to P1 as drivers are still taking times. More than 35 have registered for today's race. Zach is on the move, only to be bested by Jacob Fife. Jacob just put his best time down. He's a winner already. He's got himself one checkered flag so far this season. Fife gets up to the pole position. 2 1,000ths is the gap. Cody Smith, then the number 18, gets up to P3. Sean Kalist is on the move in the number 90 as it stands. Sean making his way through turns 1 and 2, already concluding his run. Provisionally, he's lined up in the 21st position and is looking to make some continued gains. Ross Cato getting up to 14th. Alan Rawell to pit road. It's his first week of racing this season. We saw him last night. And Josh Gallagher in the number 96 looking to turn fortunes another direction after what was unfortunately not the best of performances in Japan yesterday. Gallagher will come across the line from 27th on his first lap. He'll improve by 0.4 of a second. That will be good for 23rd. Still going to be significant gains relative to where he was on that last lap. So good to see for Josh Gallagher as he makes up time. Eli Carr's on the way for 31st. Cole DeRoger's also on track. Tom Wetmore is now 10th as Scott Eckridge puts it up to 2nd. Still, no match for Jacob Fife. Fife is on the top of the board, and there are 3 drivers within 2 1,000ths of a second. But no one has touched Jacob. Eckridge gets it up now to P2. That'll knock Scrintinol down to the 2nd row. Cole DeRogers is on the way. He's the rookie in the 39. And Cole is now going to find himself 33rd in the standings, looking for improvement in his Chevron number 10. Jet black up in front, red, white, and blue sprinkled beyond it. It's a color clash tonight as that Toyota Camry comes across the start-finish line, and a 31.028 is a big gain, but it won't be enough to make any other positions. Cole finds himself 34th as Matt Sisler now takes the last lap of the session in these final 30 seconds. His first lap was a 30.59. That would be good for 30th, but it wasn't validated. So Matt right now is looking to put up the upset. The rest of the field is qualified. John DeBarro gets up to 8th. Matt, with 10 seconds on the clock, it's going to be close. And it looks like it will not be enough. Sisler comes across turn 4, but does not get to the line. Qualifying has concluded, and at the top of the board, Blake Cannon breaks through on Jacob Fife. Cannon won last night and is now looking to sweep the week in the Integrity Racing League. He led 48 laps the night prior. He finds himself now P1 on the board with a quick time, 16 1,000ths of a second better than Jacob Fife. Qualifying concludes with that one final upset. Great work for the driver of the number 44. Cannon was able to get the job done, and all things considered, it came down to the difference between that last lap. The second lap was quicker than Fife. First lap, not so much. He built up momentum well. That's something drivers have to assess at the Texas Motor Speedway. It's a 1.5-mile circuit, but not similar track pavement-wise to the other 1.5 milers. We'll talk about that more as the night goes on, but the qualifying grid has been set, and it's another big field here in the Lone Star State. Inside of row number 1 with the quickest time, one of the few to break under the sub-30-second barrier. It's pole sitter Blake Cannon with a 29.929. That's the top position, and it's going to be good over Jacob Fife in second. Third place then immediately after, and Scott Eckridge and Zach Skrintinol goes P4. Fourth, Skrintinol and Jacob Fife, second, are only separated by 2 1/1000ths. That's the difference. Then from there, you'll have P5 in Cody Smith, and it'll be 6th place. Paul Mikolajczyk coming back after a brutal incident yesterday in Motegi, which left him out of the race very early. 7th place on the order goes to Ryan Bean. P8 will then be John DeBarro. Jared Davis is 9th, and Sam Nieto is 10th with Brian Yazik. P11, Galen Gidman finds himself the final man in the top dozen. 13th place on the order is immediately after Gidman tonight. That'll be the driver. Just behind him, the 51 of Tom Wetmore. TJ Hanley is making his first start in the Integrity OCTANE Series. Hanley today will start in 14th. Ethan Lane goes P15. Nicholas Ward is 16th, Nolan Potter 17th, and Nate Campbell 18th. Hanley, a previous racer in Saturday Night Thunder and the Iora Cup Series, making his debut in another FTN campaign. 19th goes Ross Cato. Brian Greenlee finishes up the top 20, and Bobby Keith goes 21st with Kevin Bernheimer 22nd, Kyle Cooper in 23rd, and P24 for Aaron Eads. 25th place is Brock Potter. Woody Mahan is then 26th with Josh Gallagher 27th. Brent McClendon is 28th. P29 is Sean Kalist and Alan Rawell for his first race of the season here. That's going to be 30th place for the Rawell machine. Immediately after that, you got 31st in Don Stevenson, 32nd in Chad Dillon, 33rd in Eli Cars. Cole DeRogers then goes just after him. He'll be P34. 35th is Brad Patton, and Matt Sisler is 36th with your final drivers on the day after the 93 Sisler, including 37th place in Richard Smith and Randy Fiash, the 30th and final man on the field. 38 drivers make up this grouping. It's going to be an exciting night of action for the Texas Motor Speedway, and nearly 40 have come onto the track. Only one will come away a winner, and your pole sitter is Blake Cannon, looking to sweep the week. That gives the opportunity for Roadhouse Racing as a team to do so. Tom Wetmore, even if his teammate doesn't win, has a chance to bring victory back to the team as a whole. Wetmore, the number 51, already a winner this season so far in the OCTANE Series. That's one of those things where he made the most of a superspeedway race. Oftentimes, they are rather unpredictable, very challenging to figure out who's going to have the advantage from beginning to end. In Wetmore's case, well, he made the difference by winning in Daytona, and now he's got that victory effectively guaranteed for him on the rest of the schedule. The number 51 team right now finding itself ducking to the inside once again. 8th place in this warm-up session. If he can build up that long-term pace, he could get away with it on the rest of the night. So far, the intermediates have been dominated by odd strategy, perhaps seen best and explained best by what Jacob Fife did to win in Sin City. Any driver now knows that if they have top 15 to 20 pace on a long run, a short run call could be the difference between a mediocre finish and a fantastic performance. Whether or not they're able to get that difference through just comes down to luck of the draw. Coming across the line once again, it'll be Scott Eckridge with the fastest time. He puts up the best on the board in this warm-up session. He's a multi-time race winner in a rookie campaign that so far has already been very fruitful. Eckridge goes P1 in warm-up, and so we move on from practice and qualifying and instead get to business with our main feature. More than 100 laps on the day, 200 miles effectively on the dot. It's time that we go racing with Blake Cannon P1, Jacob Fife P2, and the front row familiar for these intermediate tracks. Blake has a chance to win both races this week. We still haven't seen the sweep pulled off just yet. Ethan Lane has gotten close with multiple victories in the Ignite Series, but he hasn't had the same success going back-to-back day after day. Blake right now poised perhaps to do it as he has the pole position tonight. We've seen multiple races in both series where drivers convert those pole positions to victories, but those conversions have not been easy. So even if Blake has himself the best position to do it tonight, it doesn't mean it's going to come to him naturally. In fact, it might be the opposite. Drivers are going to be very aggressive on the jump to get the advantage strategically. So don't think for a second they're going to let up on this man, the number 44. Cannon is strong, but he's got a whole field to defend upon. Just under 40 drivers tonight who really could bring it to him. Pace cars on the way. Track conditions, of course, notably sunny, and as always in Texas, notably warm. While the ambient temperature is coming in at only 73 degrees Fahrenheit with winds westbound at 23 miles an hour, the fans will be staying cool, but the track will not be. Coming in at a temperature of 108 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 70%. It's going to be scorching earth on that bottom side of the tire all night long, which means that grip might be an issue. The Texas Motor Speedway giving an emphasis to those higher grooves in the real world with PJ1 application, which was an attempt to synthesize multi-groove racing. Didn't really turn out all too well. In fact, it ended up backfiring significantly. And as a result, you usually see the bottom two lanes as preference all throughout. Nevertheless, in iRacing, drivers have a chance to go high, to go low. They could go wherever they would like, as long as they do a good job of it. Blake Cannon has preference again, but we'll see how much longer he stays down low, tucked within, or if he decides to experiment on these coming laps. Lone Star State has a gem of a road course, and even though this intermediate circuit might not be a driver favorite, it always brings out the thrill of the Octane Series. 200 miles away as Blake Cannon looks to sweep the week in the Integrity Racing League. We're underway from Fort Worth, Texas. Let's get back to business from the Texas Motor Speedway. Caution is out. Galen Gidman involved, among others, and the yellow flag will fly. Gidman still turning it around as we look at the live feed, but you see beforehand he got caught up and fast. Here's an instant replay on the matter, and it'll show you quite clearly what just happened here. Taking it back in slow motion, Gidman saw Brian Yazik get loose, and Yazik contact from Tom Wetmore. Wetmore on the inside, Yazik went low, they met each other, then Yazik slides up into Gidman. That's where the trouble begins. Yellow flag is out. Gidman ricochets up into the wall, luckily nobody else gets to him there. And he's going to end up slow down to the back of the field. Brian Yazik able to get away from that affair. And you'll see him now on pit road. Galen Gidman going to fall back significantly. Front end damage on the both of which. And the caution is out 2 laps in out of 134. Scott Eckridge leads the way through the opening 3/4 of a lap we just had, and the race is at a standstill once again. Everyone's going to be forced to check it up, bring it back to pacing speeds. Eckridge and Cannon anyway, your leaders. Jacob Fife is third. Cody Smith getting by Zach Scrintinol in a hotly contested opening lap, albeit we didn't have enough time to really see who's up next. And that's the most exciting part. Two laps to green at the moment. Jacob Fife is going to look up high. He's in third place. Ryan Bean, Paul Mikolajczyk, all staying inside the top 10. And of course, Sam Nieto in that number 2, getting up there as well. The fight already beginning to get inside and stay within the top 10. It's going to be contentious all night long, particularly for those drivers who know they have pace. Now, the intermediate tracks bring out that level of comfort, but that also brings out a different level of aggression. An early lap 1 incident, no less. We've seen that before this season, but usually we get a chance to settle in. It's not always immediate. It really isn't instantaneous in most cases, but whenever the field gets back to work cleanly and under green flag conditions, typically it stays that way for the rest of the night. So we're hoping to see a little bit more of that and a little bit less of the wreckage as the night goes on, but with drivers understanding what it takes to push to the limits, I think it's going to be a different sort of race for the first half of this one compared to, shall we say, last night in the Ignite Series, where a lot of the same drivers, including your current race leader, were also in contention. Cannon, again, was the leader and winner of that race in the tail end, and it only had itself about 5 cautions, and most of those were sprinkled in the early laps. The final 50-plus went consecutively under green, although it's very hard to pass at Motegi, whereas Texas is more conventional as an American intermediate. One lap to green, first restart of the day, coming in at lap number 5. Double file between Cannon and Eckrich, both of which multi-time winners across the Integrity Racing League this year. Eckrich particularly specializing in this series with 3 victories, the most of anyone, whereas Blake Cannon has 3 victories in the Ignite Series. Across the two, that's a total of 6 wins in our opening 22 races. Wonderful combination of victories and success. Hoping to get our first lap fully under green this time by. Let's get back to business now with Blake Cannon at the helm. Green flags out. Up top, Scott Eckrich is going to get stifled big time, but Blake Cannon gets away. Green flags on the move. It's going to be Cannon all through, and Jacob Fife gets side by side with Eckrich as we're back under green. Contact again, back of the field. It's the number 21 that goes around. We have ourselves a caution for the second time. Looking back to see what happened. And another incident at the tail end of the field. It's going to be Brent McClendon involved this time by. McClendon getting back on the way. He slammed vigorously into the outside wall, and it looks like it cost him. Take a look at this. For McClendon, as we take this instant look back, the driver, the number 21, Aaron Eads up there. That got him loose. Then that shoots the 21 in the wall, and he ends up staying up there, hooking high and turning up and in again. The caution is out. The yellow flag flying, Aaron Eads once again sees trouble. And of course, Brent McClendon involved with it as well. Although I think it was very minor contact, if any, between the two. The iRacing server registered it as a full-on hit, and that's going to be both to the discredit of Aaron Eads and Brent McClendon, as it sends them back down the ladder. Although I believe the 88 got off significantly better. Right now, Aaron looks to be damage-free after the altercation. Two cautions in the first 5 laps, and we still have yet to record a full lap under green. Talk about a chaotic start from the Lone Star State. Cannon down low with 2 laps to green. Keep focused now on that number 44 to figure out what's up next in store. His restart game has been impeccable across the last 2 nights. We've seen a little bit of it on display so far. He's been flashing that capability, and it's going to help him out in the long term if tonight ends up being more yellow flag infested, shall we say, than usual. Having the ability to make your way through in the restart and get that bolt-like jump, that impulse is the difference between a tenth of a second lead or a half-second lead across a very long period of time. Now for Cannon, he's a driver who knows how to manage his equipment well. He isn't always in danger of needing that big boost. But why not? It would help big time. We'll go to lap 10 for restart number 2 here. The first laps of this race have been at a standstill. Right now on pit road, Brent McClendon, you'll see him there, still getting some damage repair. The number 21, one of the very few on pit road here. Great to have Alan Rawell on the track. I'd say he's a driver favorite in terms of drivers. Hasn't had a lot of seat time over the past year and a half. He's been doing night school for the time being. And so, amid his educational pursuit, he's got a little bit of downtime now to get back in the sim. Great to see Alan going at it. Not often do we see him up at the front of the field, but he's had some good runs before, particularly in Richmond in 2023 when he stormed up into the top 5 after an alternate tire call, which led him a chance to fight with the leaders. Alan right now is getting back with them in his ever-famous number 43, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more from him here as we get back to work. You might notice he has a different sponsor on that next gen than what he used to carry, and I think that's because the paint shop for Rawell hasn't yet updated with the new Camry look for 2025. But that, of course, is for the well-familiar viewers of the Octane series. If you're a first-time viewer, if you're a veteran, doesn't matter if you're anywhere in between, let us know who you're rooting for tonight. We've got 38 drivers on the field, all of which are looking to give it their best shot for race victory. Blake Cannon might be the favorite right now, but who's the favorite in your mind as the race goes on? Let us know in the FTN Broadcasting chat room. We'll be taking shout-outs all night long and reporting them back on the broadcast. So if you want to get involved and talk to us in the booth, we're always free for a chat. We'd love to hear your insight, your predictions. Just subscribe to FTN Broadcasting and let us know. We'd love to hear what you have to say as we approach now restart number 2. 10 laps in out of 134 enter the double digits with the leading man, Blake Cannon. Jacob Fife up high, getting back to business with a chain restart that gives again the inside the edge. Jacob Fife can hold no candle. It's your second restart of the day. It's your third caution of the day. Yellow flag is out before we even get to turn 2 here. And we're taking a look back now to see why, as everyone gets back together again. We've really had ourselves a slow start to this race, and this is another example of just that. Now take a look at this here. Caution came out immediately as we went green. And even looking to the back of the field, we don't have a clue of why that happened. Stay with us as we figure out what happened here. An immediate yellow flag restart. This is the back end of the field, which we didn't see covered at the time of the restart. Caution flew, but as you can see there, looks like the field got off fine. Caution's out regardless. Brian Yazik, Cole DeRosiers, Brent McClendon, all the guys in the back of the field look to have the same level of damage they did previously, but we're pacing again. A very tricky start to tonight's race. We are 11 laps in, and if you're tuning in right now, you still have not missed any green flag racing. So, welcome in. Effectively speaking, the restart could be the beginning of this race to come. Up high goes Jacob Fife. Zach Scrintinel to the inside. And it looks like the same groupings will also be put into play once again. I wouldn't be all too shocked to see maybe some changes in the back half of the field. When we were focusing on Alan Rawell, you might have noticed a few guys went down to pit road. We are starting to, albeit it's not a lot of a difference, see a divide between drivers. Brad Patton right now at number 7. As you might have noticed, he's back of the field, but that's because he went down for tire very recently. He decided to go in 4 laps ago, so he did it on the last caution cycle. That's an 8-lap advantage if he would like to use it. Might be the best thing he can do. And at the front of the field, Blake Cannon leads the way. Coming to 1 lap to green very soon again. The top 22 drivers consecutively have stayed out on the racing circuit, all of which are waiting to get back to business. The rest of the field, the majority of that remaining portion anyway, have gone down to pit road at least once. Chad Dillon went in under the first caution. Brad Patton, Galen Gidman, and everyone after 24th, or rather 28th place, went down to pit road after the second. We're ready to go again. Lap 14, restart 3, and looking to get this race back in business. Blake Cannon on the bottom is ready to go. I'm pretty sure of that much. He's gotten great impulses off the line time and time again, and now it appears he's got a chance to make it happen even more so. Zach Scrintinol on the high side, to a very similar effect, has made the most of these restarts, even though he hasn't been the line leader. That's why he's up to second place right now. Lap number 14, up next. Jacob Fife behind Cannon, Mikolajczyk behind Scrintinol. It's about time we go rolling and racing from Texas. Green flag is out again as we get back to business with a rolling start. Blake Cannon to the bottom pulls more than a car length. Jacob Fife on the inside can't hold a candle to the outside groove. Scrintinol up to second for your third restart. Blake Cannon is able to pull through. It'll be side by side just behind him. It's going to be Mikolajczyk and Zach Scrintinol toe-to-toe again. Scrintinol got a fantastic jump over Jacob Fife, and that's what moved it all the way up into the second spot for the 20 crew. But Mikolajczyk comes back. Blake Cannon now seeing that pressure. He's going to be pinned down to the bottom groove. Coming across the line, Zach Scrintinol with a slight advantage. Contact, briefly. Cannon down to the bottom. Gets into the dirt ever so slightly. 16 laps in out of 134. A move like that could be troublesome if replicated multiple times. But thanks to all that yellow flag racing we got, these tires are still sticking well. Jacob Fife 3 lanes back watching. It's 2 by 2 for the race lead. Scott Eckrich is the last man in that affair. Eckrich remains just ahead right now. Jacob Fife for third place. Take a ride on board right now as he's fallen back to 5th. Still has a chance to slide himself into this bottom part of the leading discussion. It hasn't happened yet. Top 4 breaking out. Rest of the field are still watching. Tom Wetmore goes side by side with Jared Davis. Jared right now finding himself in the 7th spot. Wetmore just beside him. They're going to be going toe-to-toe. Take that position. Nolan Potter ducks to the inside himself. Got Cody Smith up high. Nicholas Ward there. Ward, after nearly 6 full years winless in the Integrity Racing League, collecting his first Octane Series win this year. An unbelievable story of triumph after so long away. And I think a win like that really is going to catalyze this 97 into showing that he's got what it takes. Of course, the Octane Series was a fresh start in its first ever season in 2023. Ward was the best driver not to make the playoffs. He was the first man out. And 2024 took a step back performance-wise, but it looks like so far we've been seeing a lot more of the past Nicholas Ward than what we saw of 2024. And I think for his racing success, that's a good thing. He's taken a step back in time, but he hasn't taken a step back in performance. And it looks like, again, he'll be more likely contending for top 5, top 10 finishes than prior. He is 12th in the championship standings as it stands now. Not very far off many of your leading men. Cannon to the inside was able to get under Zach Scrintinol and not only get under, but instead clear. Blake is going to have himself leading. The fight continues on, but it looks like for the race lead, no one's been able to get fully around the number 44. When Blake Cannon is confident, he is just about the best driver on the racetrack. At any track, in any state, this number 44 really knows how to put it together. Cannon was able to win 48 laps again last night, the Twin Ring, but already Zach Scrintinol is looking for his rebuttal. He'll go high, he'll go low, no dice. James Clotton in the chat room, thank you for stopping by and rooting on. Eli Cars in the number 82. Cars right now is scored in 30 seconds, still going at it here in a fight just behind Brant McClendon. You'll see right now, Cars going to be at the tail end of this leading draft. Still, a majority of drivers, about 30 of which are connected from top to bottom in that long drafting train. So even if your favorite driver right now is further behind, it doesn't mean their chance for the win is dead in the water. As long as you stay relatively on cycle with the leaders, you have a really fair chance at making it happen. You just need a little bit of luck to fall your way to make things work. Cannon to the inside. Eckridge up top. Zach Scrintinol going to go P3. Paul Mikolajczyk for 4th. Single file, 3rd and 4th place. This is going to be Mikolajczyk and, of course, Eckridge here going up top. Ryan Bean watching for 5th place. Bean still looking for a breakout race on the ovals here. He's had himself a few good runs in the back half of the top 10, but the 26 has been more subdued at the late race portion than anything else. Ryan has the potential to break out. That's without doubt. We just haven't seen him do so. As it stands, the number 26 team is 13th in the championship standings, just behind Nicholas Ward. And now, blocking big, the 77 of Mikolajczyk. Paul was looking up and down the circuit for an answer. He could not get one. And he's going to have the door slammed right on him. Number 70 of Eckridge. He's got himself still up and ahead. Now he's gotten further up on Cannon. Blake again went through the tracks he laid in the dirt. This time he wasn't able to hang on to position. Cannon sees Eckridge go up high. Here comes Scrintinol making his move. Blake Cannon for 2nd. Eckridge for 1st. Watch out for Nolan Potter. He's going to be the back of the train as Jacob Fife weaves up high. That's going to be a harsh block on Nicholas Ward. And with Fife going up top erratically, admittedly speaking, that's going to send the number 97 of Ward topsy-turvy, to put it lightly. Now Ward's going to find himself falling back outside of the top 13, might fall back to 14th or 15th with John DeBarro getting closer to him here. Ward, he's lucky at least to still be in this main train, but he's going to be filed out to the outside. That's a very disadvantageous position to be in, and he's already showing the signs of losing more as a result. Fife watching ahead. Jared Davis, Nolan Potter. Take a look on board with the number 36 as he's got a good eye on this fight. Fight getting away now. Nolan Potter going to be put in the dust, as you can see. Jacob makes his move, and all the way back, Cody Smith has himself. Nolan in the number 34 has himself up high. Looking for an immediate rebound. Jacob Fife gained the advantageous low groove, but Potter with momentum is not only able to hang on, but take it right back. Strong call there from the 34 of Nolan Potter. And talk about making it happen. 29 laps in, he'll rebound and take the spot. And now look on Nicholas Ward. Ward getting back up into the top 10, but he's already going to have himself a firm fight. Scott Eckridge leads by 0.3 of a second and now gaining over Blake Cannon. The lead battle has gotten to be a little bit more wide open, but those other positions are still all for the taking. Ryan Bean looking after Paul Mikolajczyk as it stands. Then you see double file, and 2x2 racing further behind is going to be more prominent again. Leaders are more comfortable. If you're in the top 5, you're running the top 5. But if you're in the top 15 or the top 20, those 5 places could make a major difference. So pushing yourself up there and trying to make it happen, you've got to go for it. And that's where you might see a little bit more of an aggressive level to the midfield as compared to the front of the pack. Later on, of course, you're going to see those drivers up and ahead really pushing, but for the time being, I don't think that's going to be the case for those who are leading. Where the positions are contentious, Scott Eckridge knows one thing: he doesn't want to be there. And right now, he finds himself up and ahead. Eckridge, Cannon, Mikolajczyk, Ryan Bean, Zach Scrintinel, top 5, 31 laps in out of 134. With the yellow flags that we had back and forth, unfortunately, the big issue was that the drivers all saw those first 15 laps fall under yellow. As a result, those laps were effectively lost to time, but that actually helps out in strategy. It means that overall, we're only accounting for about 120 racing laps as opposed to 134. If drivers saved well under caution, which I believe many of them did, they could split this race up into 2 pit stop calls. One coming through the opening 60, one coming through the remaining 60 from this point forward. So technically speaking, we are about 20 laps into the run. We're expecting to see pull until about lap 75 to lap 80. And what you're seeing right now could be the beginning of only 2 long runs. Just depends on how calm the field stays, and we could see that strategy split. 120 lap races are easy to break apart, but anything more becomes very difficult. 134 laps, 200 miles is the Achilles heel to that basic strategy. Cody Smith up high, Brock Potter down low. Potter holding his head up high, and he's going to bring him up there with Cody Smith. You'll see there, Brock ending up on the corner a little bit higher than even Smith was when he rounded it. Ross Cato right now in 17th, looking for a breakout night to bring that momentum back for the number 12 crew. Ross Cato has been sporadic over the past season and a half. However, he's still in the top 15 in the championship, running 14th. Tonight, he only finds himself about 3 points back on Ryan Bean and only 12 back on Ross Cato, so he's not all too far back on making a big move, getting up the ladder. For Ross anyway, he just needs a few good races. Not all too many, because we are only 11 races in, but 2 or 3 good races consecutively could really bring him up the ladder and push him to the highest level of competition. He's 35 laps in out of 134, right now running 19th. He would still need a few spots to really make gains today. Jared Davis going at it now with Tom Wetmore again. Wetmore takes it top side, Davis has it on the bottom. They'll run through 3 and 4 and see who's got it best. Wetmore easily surges through. And that powerful run off of turn 4 was the difference maker. Nicholas Ward all the while is going to keep it up top, and Jared Davis gets it down to the bottom. This back half of the top 10 has been remarkably contentious so far today, and that exciting level of competition is probably going to be the way it goes all night. While Blake Cannon now has the lead of that train again, it all becomes who wants to lead the strategy call. Honestly, if you're leading at this moment, it's surprising to say this, maybe not the best thing to say, it's a disadvantage. Not often, very rarely, in fact, is that the case to say, but in a race like this where we could see an exact split of strategy, looks like right now, that number 44 might be risking it by putting him up and ahead. 38 laps in out of 134, time to spare on this race. It's not going to be easy, but Cannon right now is going to take that risk. If he leads in, while he might burn up more fuel and might wear himself out pushing all that dirty air around, it also means that he'll be the one who dictates when the rest of the field goes in. If the field plays at his will, he's going to be able to do practically whatever he wants. That's how he ended up winning last night. He got himself up to the front of the field on the risky strategy call, then got the right yellow flag at the right time to equal things out, and still pulled away to finish the race a dominant winner. Right now, he's already got that position early on. He grabbed the pole position, and that's what's helped out. Scott Eckridge can only watch. The gap between those two, 0.3 of a second. Zach Scrintinol is going to be 4th. Tom Wetmore is 5th. P6 is Nicholas Ward. Ward, I'll tell you this much. They were jockeying back and forth with the 97, sending him up the ladder. And now, it looks like he's been able to recover well, even though he was pressured around early. That 97, again, is showing those signs of what we saw from him in previous years. And if he wants to be a more consistent race winner, this is that racing attitude you have to have behind the cockpit. He's been facing setbacks. He's been drove into hard. It's not that there's deliberate contact, but the way he's being raced is just like everyone else at the front. The level of competition has only gotten better at the head of the Octane Series field, and for someone, a veteran like Ward, to adapt like that and maybe show one of his best seasons in a half-decade is remarkable. With the guys that we have coming in, like Mikolajczyk, like Ethan Lane, like Blake Cannon or Jared Davis, the fact that our regulars have still been able to put up good numbers so far this season, like a Wetmore or a Ward or a Fife or a Nieto to a certain extent. He's also around on those racing circuits, but nevertheless, the fact is the regulars have been able to keep up because they've been rising to the challenge that these new guys have given. While right now, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for our series rookies. This is Cannon's second year in the Octane Series, his first full season anyhow. The veterans are still right there behind, and they've been giving a firm challenge all season long. Again, perhaps the biggest, riskiest strategy call pulled was by league owner Jacob Fife himself, and he's been at it now for some 13 years. Across the line, lap 44. Mid-pack is still staying tight here, but it looks like no longer is it going to be much double file. Cody Smith will experiment going all the way up to the high side, but for the most part, that active racing with multiple grooves really hasn't come to pass. Unfortunately, that is the biggest weakness, and by a large margin, it's the biggest weakness of the Texas Motor Speedway. You can adapt for multiple grooves if you really need to recover yourself or something of that nature, but it's not something you can consistently rely upon. It's more of a last-ditch effort. The inside groove and the middle groove are absolutely preferential, and if you aren't able to make it happen on those bottom two grooves, you're practically screwed for the night. For Blake Cannon, anyway, he's made sure he's kept himself down there and away. Now Scott Eckridge is a half-second back, and Eckridge is now 9/10 up on Mikolajczyk. From being bunched up for the first 15 laps to these next 30 being everyone out of sight. We're coming up on some lappers, Brian Yazik being the first of which. Unfortunately, Yazik caught up in a multi-car incident at the beginning of this race. It involved Tom Wetmore. Then getting involved with it was Brent McClendon later further on to that incident. Now you'll see Yazik is going to be pushed up to the high side of the racing circuit. Wetmore getting by. It was a racing incident just to start the night, and unfortunately the 55 of Yazik is the losing man in that affair. He's going to be driven way back. Blake leads the way. Eckrich in second, Paul Mikolajczyk third, fourth is Zach Scrintinol here. Undeniably and understandably here, Zach Scrintinol is another driver who I'm interested in seeing perform at a higher level. He's a driver who's shown us races with promise, including performances such as Darlington. He was up there in the mix with Kyle Trudell, but his championship standing is not the best, all things considered. He stands 23rd of all those drivers in the championship points. He's ranked as one of the lowest of those who have started all 10 races, and that's not to say he's been a particularly slow driver so far. He does have a top 5 and a top 10 to speak of, but he only has one of each. And execution has been the biggest factor that's really caught him off guard this season. Maybe, and many drivers could account to this as well. Maybe some of these guys are not used to the specific ways strategy goes down in the Integrity Racing League, where so many a race goes down the green flag strategy one way or another. Yes, we have seen triple overtime in the Integrity Racing League this year, but that doesn't mean that's the norm. Really, it's the exception. And as a result, if a driver is fast, it doesn't mean they're always going to win. You need to be thinking at all times for all laps. Ethan Lane makes a pass there on Nate Campbell. He gets up to 6th. And Campbell sees Lane make it through. Ethan has been on an incognito sort of route for the past few weeks. He started 15th. We haven't heard anything of him so far today until literally right now. Lane now has himself up to the front of the board, and he's got himself in the top 5, perhaps, if he can just keep on pushing. It'll take him about 5 or 6 laps to cut the gap at the rate that he's been moving so far. He's been about a 10th and a half quicker. Oh, contact further back. That's Nolan Potter. Potter saves it, though. Talk about a big save from the 34. Nolan Potter goes sliding, but he does not quit. Watch this. Nicholas Ward was on his back end, kissed it once on the backside, contact with Nieto twice, and Potter slams the inside wall but gets ricocheted off safely. Now, of course, safely to a certain extent, but he's very far back now. Nolan now runs 19th as he looks to get himself back in order. He surges up to the high side to fight with Aaron Eads here, and Potter with early trouble. Leaders get away with it. Unfortunately for Ward, it looks like 97 of the 34 had that first instance of contact, and then Potter saved it, and Nieto went side by side. Now, contact like that really doesn't often give that same result of slamming the driver out of the way. So unfortunate for all those involved, but both Nieto and Ward get away from it. They are currently running 9th and 10th respectively. 44 of Blake Cannon still has himself out and ahead. Scott Eckrich is watching and waiting to see what he can do next. Paul Mikolajczyk runs in 3rd, and you'll see right here, he might have the most pressure of anyone inside the podium. Zach Scrintinol is there. Contact, getting in the outside wall. Mikolajczyk briefly tagging, but it looks like it won't stop him. But it won't be Scrintinol any longer. It's now Ethan Lane. Lane finished 2nd place last night and actually had himself 3rd officially at the end of the line. DJ Stagner got by him, but he also got a podium finish, which he could replicate today. Lane to the bottom groove. Here comes the number 6, surging down on the bottom. He'll take P3. Just 5 laps ago, he was hardly in the 6th position. And now he's got himself up to P3. For the podium, Ethan Lane making a big move just before we head down to pit road. Again, if you want to dig through the field now, it's important to gain as many positions as possible. And undeniably for the number 6 team, he's got to make those changes as fast as he can. If Lane keeps on moving like this, he might have a shot at 2nd place in the next 20 laps or so. We still could see up to 20 more laps remaining for all drivers on this stint. Now, Cannon's up to his 56th lap, but keep in mind again, we spent those opening 15 under yellow, so a 65-plus lap run could be possible. Your halfway point tonight, it's effectively lap 67. thereabouts. Going to be slight differentiation dependent on how drivers decide to take it to pit road, but we could see up to 67 laps on this first run, if not more, to make that second run easy. Blake holds a 2.3 second lead over the rest of the field, and the strategy is at his will for the rest of the night. Right now, for the 44 machine, as long as he keeps himself clean, he'll have a shot to go the rest of the distance. Zach Scrintinol is going to be in the 6th position right now. He's fallen back a little bit further, while he was right there on the back end. That number 20 looks like no longer. He's got himself a shot for the podium. In 6th place, still might be able to work at it with Jared Davis, though. Davis in the 19 is just barely leading him. The top 10 is now spread by some 7 seconds. Jacob Fife going at it with Ross Cato. Cato getting himself up to 13th here. Fife sees Nicholas Ward. Ward has been juggled up and down the order from as high as about 6th place to as low as 13th. It looks like, again, he's on the higher side of that equation. He's a little bit higher than his lowest spot anyway, and just outside of the top 10. Maybe those positions will be just enough for him to hang on and gain in the championship picture. Only a few laps remain until we head down to pit road, and we're almost halfway through our stints. Scrintinol watching as the 19 of Jared Davis goes at it with Paul Mikolajczyk. Mikolajczyk was able to lead for the opening portion of this run ahead of Ethan Lane. It looks like no longer is that the case, though. We'll see what happens now. Davis lower than Mikolajczyk into those corners, but no big difference. Now he's got himself under down the back straightaway, and he's got a shot to lunge. For P4, Jared Davis on the bottom. Looks like it's going to be just good enough as he makes his way around. Paul Mikolajczyk keeps it just up high. Using that straightaway surge, that's been the most pivotal tool for the number 19 crew all throughout the night. It's been able to keep him up there and helped him fighting Ethan Lane, but Jared Davis squeezes him. Here comes Nate Campbell. Campbell, again, is your points leader, and he's been quiet as well today. Nate leads the championship by 28 points over Sam Nieto. Nieto right now is at the back end of this fight, and it looks like he too is gaining. If he can get up to the 45, he's got a fair shot at making some points up, but swiftly Nate Campbell gets up to P4. Didn't take all too long for him now to be just outside of the top 5. How about that for Nate Campbell? An undeniable move up into the top 5, and also that for 4th. That's going to move Campbell now 6 seconds back on, of course, leader Blake Cannon, but the rest of the pack is still contentious. Watch out now for Tom Wetmore on the inner groove. You got Jared Davis up high, Sam Nieto on the bottom. Up top is going to be Mikolajczyk as well. It's toe-to-toe now, 63 laps in. Almost at halfway. Every spot matters. Pit road is just a few laps out for everyone in the field. So if they can make it happen here and optimize these next few laps, there could be the difference between a top 5, a top 10, or a top 15, depending on where a driver is. Jared Davis up high, Tom Wetmore on the bottom. Davis wasn't able to fend off on Campbell last time through, and it looks like he has stolen the thunder from that 19 entirely. The two-tech Chevrolet heads down to the inside groove. He's got the rhythm, and he's got the pass. Sam Nieto up next. Nieto looking to close the gap between the driver, of course, the 19 of Davis, and the 45 of Nate Campbell. Watch what happens, as it looks like now they're side by side. Nieto close to clearing. He's got the advantage through this corner, and it might just be enough. 65 laps in out of 134. Blake Cannon leading, but watch further back. They're 3 wide. Cody Smith on the high side, and he's putting his hat in the race. Watch out now for Cody Smith. Smith is in 9th place right now in that Next Level Racing Chevrolet, and Jared Davis is only moving further down the ladder here. Another instance of dropping back and fast. For For Davis, this is absolutely what he does not want to see. In fact, it might be the worst thing possible for the number 19 team. Davis moves. The number 97 of Nicholas Ward is right there with them. 66 laps out of 134 here. Slowly but surely, the gaps are widening. And Davis looks to be one of those at a disadvantage. This time by, Blake Cannon is leading us toward our halfway marker, 67 laps out of 134. First half of this race has gone by with little incident to this point, and Blake Cannon has done a remarkable job of leading from the pole and now breaking away from the field. He's the favorite perhaps to go for 2 consecutive race victories in the Integrity Racing League, and this would be his second of which, of course. As he comes across the line, he's past the magic number. It's going to be a 1 pit stop night for the 44 if things stay clean and green. Halfway down, halfway remaining as Cannon leads over second place Scott Eckrich, third place Ethan Lane, and P4 in Nate Campbell, your championship leader. Then it's fifth place in Zach Scrintinol and sixth in Tom Wetmore, as then you go seventh place for Cody Smith, eighth for Sam Nieto, ninth for Paul Mikolajczyk, and 10th for Nicholas Ward. Halfway through tonight's event, we'd like to thank iRacing Motorsport Simulation for their assistance in bringing tonight's coverage to you. iRacing Motorsport Simulations, for now more than 16 years, has led simulation racing to the fullest. There's no other online sim platform quite like iRacing. Anyone from an amateur to professional can use this platform to train their way to the top. With sim racing in the modern era, such as stock cars, Formula One cars, Indycar, the World of Outlaws, IMSA, and many more, even down to the historical classics of the 1950s and 1960s. From beginning to end, iRacing has you covered. Start your sim racing journey today at iRacing.com and learn more about how to register. Thank you for tuning in tonight live on FTN Broadcasting. We'll continue coverage right after this brief message from our friends at iRacing.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With 63 laps to go, Ethan Lane has gotten himself up to second place over Scott Eckrich. He's got now 12 laps of younger tire, and while Blake Cannon still has a 4-second lead, the ball might be in Ethan Lane's court to go on from here. Nate Campbell just headed down into pit road, so that's one of the first big signals. We got championship contenders and race leaders heading in. Campbell on the way. Out, as a matter of fact. The 45 gets moving, and it looks like now he's come through. Brad Patton, likewise, you take a look now at the number 7. He's going to find himself back on the groove. That's the number 7 on the racing circuit for the first time after his stop. He went in actually 64 laps ago, so he's looking for his second on the day. Watch out for him from this point forth. Jared Davis, Ross Cato, both coming in together, it appears. There's Cato, there's Davis at the front of the pack. Both drivers making big moves down and in. We'll see what happens up next, as with 61 laps to go, Ross Cato now hits the gas and follows Davis out. Cannon is going as long as he can here. And I think that's going to be in rebuttal to Ethan Lane. Lane has now gone 61 laps and looks comfortable, maybe to even take it further. So our predictions might have been a little bit more conservative as compared to what we are seeing on the racetrack now. 60 is being pushed through clearly by all of these drivers, and as a result, what's up next to come might just be a longer run, maybe up to 75 plus for Blake Cannon. He'll go for 75 on the dot. Cannon comes in. Nieto, Patton, Potter all come out. Jacob Fife also on the way, as is Galen Gidman. A big move down and in. Tom Wetmore now one of the lone holdouts at the head of the field. Big moving at the front of the field as the caution flies. The yellow flag is out. And for the first time since lap 15, it's John DeBarro and Sean Kalist. Let's take a look now and see what happened. It looks like a big hit for both. DeBarro was coming up the circuit. Kalist was there. Kalist came off the wall, and they both ran right down to the inside wall. Huge wreck. It is your fourth of the day. The caution is out with 59 laps remaining. Yellow flag flies for DeBarro and Kalist. Caution's out. As John heads to pit road, the front end is entirely gone for that number 61. I would be highly surprised if he gets back on track from here. Kalist, that number 90, currently runs 34th. Despite the major hit he took, the front bumper looks to be completely fine, but he'll come down to pit road regardless. Wetmore is in, getting his service, as is Ethan Lane. It looks like they'll be equalized out. Not a good thing for Ethan Lane. Remember, he had younger tire coming in, and he would have been advantageous over everyone until that point. Now, not so much. While Lane gets out with a race lead, he will not have a significant edge in terms of tire performance, and so his big advantage on the night has been stripped from him thanks to the yellow flag. 58 laps to go as the field comes together. Bringing the pack through after a big pit stop cycle, Blake Cannon will be a few spots back, and remember, he just went down to pit road immediately prior to the caution flying. Ethan Lane is your official race leader, and it looks like Blake Cannon will be the leader of those who stayed out under caution. Cannon is on a one-lap-old run. Lane is on the immediately fresh run, so there's a difference of 1 lap between them. Compared to the 12 laps that Cannon had as a deficit prior, though, it's a blessing in disguise for the 44. And maybe it's no longer in secret anyway, because it looks like now Blake is really going to get moving. Blake Cannon gets through. Ethan Lane leads. We'll get back to business. 57 laps to go. From this point onward, the entire field can expect to go under green if we keep it clean. There's not going to be an issue in getting to the end of this race from this point forward, so hopefully things stay calm and collected until the checkered flag. The expectation is that we'll be able to do so, of course. The pit stop cycle is what might have just caused that most recent incident. Both those drivers not running around each other until that point, and now with the yellow flag out again, we'll see what's next. Ethan Lane down low, Tom Wetmore up top. Don Stevenson and Kyle Cooper surprisingly now getting up inside the 4th position. Cooper's going to have himself a holdout because he went through with the guys, including Lane, Wetmore, Stevenson, and company. This is the highest spot that Kyle was running all night long. The 73 takes the top side and has his best chance of the race victory all year long to this point. He stayed out and tried to take the race lead last night in Japan, but was on significantly younger rubber. In this case, he's got the tire advantage, and he has the position. So we'll see what happens now for the Buckeyes' number 73 as he faces off against his best chance to collect the checkered flag. It will be his first win of the season and the first win we've seen of Kyle Cooper in the modern era of the Integrity Racing League. He'll have to face off against Lane and Wetmore. Richard Smith also finding himself now up in front, but that's going to be a lapper in the 23. Smith just happens to stay up and ahead here. Blake Cannon is going to have to deal with a few of these lappers. He's not mired back in traffic, but they're all going to be lined up on the inside. The only double file starters are those that held out, including, of course, Lane, Wetmore, Stevenson, Cooper, Smith, and Alan Rawell. Green flags out once again. Lappers are going to change up this race big time because Ethan Lane gets away from the whole field, and his nearest competition on older rubber is going to be fading back. Yaflak, number 6, takes the reins, and he is far and ahead now. That's going to be about 0.4 of a second relative to Tom Wetmore, but watch out for Blake Cannon here because he's got to pick apart all of these lapped drivers. The guys who are going to have the biggest issue of all, of course, are those men who are right now, of course, not on the lead lap. They're going to be passed through quickly, and Blake Cannon has to dispose of them before anything else. 54 laps to go. Oh, it's going to be 4 wide further on back. Watch this. You got Brock Potter, Eli Cars, Nate Campbell, and this is the Hornet's Nest. 3 wide once again with Brad Patton going up high on the 38 of Brian Greenlee. Jared Davis up top, Sam Nieto down low. Here comes as well Brock Potter and Matt Sisler. Nate Campbell in the number 45 has himself a good rhythm. He's up on the higher groove, the second of which, again, those bottom 2 grooves are really all you can use in Texas. The second lowest groove, really it's usually the middle lane anyhow, is about as high as drivers tend to go voluntarily. I think right now that's exactly what we're seeing. Coming across, oh, Nate Campbell goes around, cautions out. Instant replay will show you Campbell going from fighting for the top 10 to being in the record. The yellow flag's out with 52 laps to go. This Toyota Camry was in 7th before the incident. Contact from Brock Potter. Oh, was it contact though? Clearly, the iRacing server registering it as such because he and Matt Sisler shot up the track and got on the wall. But taking a look from an overhead camera might give us a better look at what that was. And for Nate Campbell, who appears to be off of the racetrack now, watch this. It got bad fast, but I'm not quite sure if that was the contact it was made out to be. At least on the driver's perspective, it might not have been. Taking a look overhead, you'll see what happened. And before they made contact, you could see that Campbell was already turning. Perhaps server internet error and a netcode case as Campbell ricochets up the track and collects Matt Sisler. Now, Nate is no longer on the racetrack with us with 51 laps to go. That leaves Ethan Lane with the race lead, 50 laps left. Under caution with some time to spare, we'd like to thank our partners and associates live at FTN for bringing the coverage to you. Check out our non-stop segment and learn a little bit more about those who are helping out behind the scenes at FTN to bring tonight's racing action. You've been watching coverage of the Integrity OCTANE Series at the Texas Motor Speedway, and you won't miss a thing. We'll go back to full coverage before the yellow flag concludes, but until then, we'll return after messages with our non-stop coverage. Live on FTN Broadcasting. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss the next 50 laps.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
We're returning to green with 48 laps remaining. Ethan Lane is the man of the hour. In this most recent one anyways, he's taking control. 10 o'clock Eastern here on FTN Broadcasting, and Ethan has now retained control thanks to the lap cars helping out in that last restart and the caution flying. Now the field is bunched up once again. We'll see what happens up next as Blake Cannon is closer than he's been to the race lead since the pit stop cycle. Kyle Cooper remains inside the top 5. And it looks like even though, of course, a very shaky segment there for the majority of those leading guys, Cooper is actually one of those who benefited the most of it all. We'll return green now with 48 laps remaining. Watch out for Cooper. Going to be an interesting run now to see that 73 up in front. He qualified 23rd. He's up a total of 20 places so far on the day. Ethan Lane, having himself up now from 15th to 1st, has gained the flat 15. Green flags out once again with 48 laps remaining. Double file, but the top two in Wetmore and Lane break free. Ethan Lane gets the jump on everyone, simply put. Tom Wetmore going to find himself now just about 3 car lengths behind. And oh, it's going to be contact once again, back of the field. Aaron Eads and company, Sam Nieto, the caution's out. Horrible hit. And the mid-pack is decimated. Watch this. Now, we're going to pull it back from our overhead cameras here and try to show you what happened. Because it looks like this one swept up a multitude of drivers in the field. Sam Nieto, one of which, and we can't quite pinpoint where it started. The number 2 of Nieto, started with him. He shot down low, collected Nicholas Ward, as you can see. And then Bernheimer goes around. Nieto into Scott Eckridge. Kevin Bernheimer particularly getting away with a bad case of it. Watch this one-lap replay from Kevin Bernheimer. And the number 28 going to be the focus here. He was involved in what looked to be at first a separate incident and became all the more connected. He got into Ross Cato, who checked up. Then the 28 spins around. Nicholas Ward goes through, and Bernheimer has big damage. Caution's out. And this time, for the 6th time anyway, it brings the field to a standstill. Most of your leaders, again, opt to remain on the racing circuit. It looks like no change there. But the backpack has a lot of changes. Ethan Lane, Tom Wetmore, Kyle Cooper on the 1, 2, 3, all close to one another here and tightening up even further. Cooper has now lasted in third place for the past 2 consecutive restarts and starting to wonder whether or not he's got what it takes to really hang on and give it a fight. Kyle is right there. Watch out as he looks for a chance at victory. He could be the underdog of the day if he does so. Blake Cannon is looking to win 2 consecutive races, both in the Ignite Octane Series. Very possible he does so. Lane is looking for 2 consecutive podiums. Will go green with less than 45 laps remaining. And Lane will be the man in control. Tom Wetmore, if he wins, it'll be 2 straight victories for Roadhouse Racing, with Cannon winning last night, and either Wetmore or Cannon winning today. One to green. Don Stevenson and Zach Sprintinol have the 3rd row. Galen Gidman, despite early troubles, has gotten himself back into the top 10 conversation. He's currently in 12th beside Jacob Fife. Up high is Cannon. Down low is Cooper. Here we go again. Only 44 laps remain from here. We're at lap number 90 as it stands. It'll be 91 when we go green. And with that final stretch in mind, unless there's another late caution, pit road really should be off limits for these leading guys. Currently, it looks like your leading 16 are on the most recent pit cycle, which means they went in about 25 laps ago. Paul Mikolajczyk and those on down have gone in during the last cycle or the caution before it. Ethan Lane getting another chance. Kyle Cooper, maybe now on the inside, he'll have a chance to jump with, but no one can keep up with the restart leader. Lane gets it going. Cooper tries to hold a candle now to Wetmore. They'll fight for second. Yellow flag is out again. And the field is at a standstill. Cautions have been breeding cautions all night. That's another example. Here's a look at the restart. Looks like a little bit of an accordion stack up back there. That's what happened. Cody Smith gets spun. Cautions out will bring you a better look specifically at the 18, but Cody Smith is the cause of caution here. Contact from Josh Gallagher is the finisher as Smith gets sent to the infield. Yellow flag number 7 on the day. After a long green flag run, it looks like once again we are brought down to earth by a 3rd caution in this string. .43 laps remaining. Ethan Lane, Tom Wetmore, and Kyle Cooper then in 3rd. Galen Gidman getting up to 11th in that brief run. Jared Davis is now in 14th place here. It looks like he's slowly but surely putting himself back in the picture. That yellow flag, although Blake Cannon may be one of the guys who lost out big, Jared Davis, we haven't seen much of him ever since around the halfway point. Davis today qualified 9th place, solidly enough. Right now he finds himself 4 spots down in the 13th position. Davis, Keith, Eads, Jacob Fife. Fife in 12th anyhow. Galen Gibbon and Ross Cato just up to the top 10. Ross has gotten himself in the top 10 for the first time today as well. He's been fighting to get up here. He's been working through the 20th to 10th range. Now, looks like he has himself right where he needs to be. This Ford Mustang has a chance now to gain positions in the championship. He's fighting directly against guys such as Zach Scrintinol and Nicholas Ward. And Ross right here has himself in an advantageous position. A top 10 would be critical to make gains, as currently he finds himself ahead of Ward and, of course, ahead of Zach Scrintinol. Not the case just yet, but he could fight firmly for that opportunity. Scrintinol still P5. 1 to green once more. It'll be 41 laps remaining. Ethan Lane going to see 40 laps to go when we go green. It's going to be off to the jump for the number 6 team for the 4th time now. These yellow flags have come by so repetitively, we haven't had much of the yellow flag, of course, breakup to give us any excitement. We'll hope now that Lane and company can pull it back together, but the tail end of this race is approaching before we even see it happen. Lane in control, looking for a chance, but really, the field has been at the mercy of the back end of the pack more than anything else. One to green. On the lead lap, 22 drivers going back to Kevin Bernheimer. Of the 38 that started, it's a few more drivers off the lead lap than usual, admittedly. And maybe, of course, it's going to help out best for Ethan Lane to have fewer guys to worry about. Green flags out again, 40 laps remaining. It's going to be Lane with the jump, Cooper just behind. The same procedure as usual, the front of the field at the mercy of the tail end. Kyle Cooper gets down to the inside on Tom Wetmore. The fight continues for P2, but it's going to be Blake Cannon looking for his way around to get up to Ethan Lane. Cannon had the better part of those opening 40 laps to be all his, and in fact, that whole first half went his way. It'll be the biggest of shames for the 44 crew now not to get victory after all of that, and he's fighting to get that position back where he wants it. P1 is the goal, and he will not settle for less. Blake Cannon watching as Lane gets away. Tom Wetmore in the 51, about a 10th back now. That Chevrolet Camaro is holding on diligently to what he's got, but it still looks like Ethan Lane has the best pace of all. Tires were equalized, and while that looked to be a disadvantage for Lane, with all the yellow flags we've had back and forth, now it looks like he has the stuff to get the jump off the runs and keep it. Tire warmth is going to be minimal for anyone. Track position is that much more important. Ethan Lane has it made at the head of the field, and a car length is further back. Across the line again, 38 laps to go. Wetmore is a 10th back. Blake Cannon a half second behind. Zach Scrintinol for 4th. Nolan Potter for P5. Kyle Cooper 6th, and Brad Patton 7th. Side by side now, you're going to see Patton going at it with Kyle Cooper. Jacob Fife in the number 36. Take a ride on board with him. He's the final of the drivers in the top 10. He's trying to make something stick here. That number 47 loose, but just slightly. He'll put it back together. Take a lap on board now with the 36 as he fights to get up there with Don Stevenson. Taking that lap aboard with Jacob Fife, you'll notice through 1 and 2, he's going to be shifting down to 4th gear and putting the power back down again. Next-gen stock cars having 5 gears gives that extra opportunity to get a little bit more power out of it, and Jacob Fife using it to his advantage now to go 3 wide with Kyle Cooper and Don Stevenson. Side by side, advantage is going to be Fife down low, Cooper has to give, and lap 101 sees Tom Wetmore now ahead of Ethan Lane. Lane is fading back. The advantage is his no more. We could see Roadhouse Racing going 1st and 2nd, but Lane will now defend vigorously against the 44 here. Zach Scrintinol for P4, Brad Patton for 5th, and Nolan Potter then 6th. You'll see Nolan and Brock Potter both together inside the top 10. Brock runs 7th, Nolan runs in 6th. And now it looks like it could be Nolan Potter going at it with Brad Patton for the final spot inside the top 5. Ethan Lane is only just ahead of Tom Wetmore's teammate in Blake Cannon. And it shows. Cannon is trying ever so closely to get up there and maybe make a move on Lane, but he just does not have the room to give that sort of offensive push. If he had it, I'm sure he would have already gone for it to this point, but that's the big trouble right now for the driver of the number 6 team in defense. He knows that Cannon can't get there yet. The only way he'd be able to do so, of course, is if he gets the right timing and really lunges it in. Meanwhile, teammate Tom Wetmore gets away, and Roadhouse is looking to sweep this week in the Integrity Racing League. They're now only 32 laps away from doing so, and if they get through these next laps, it will be one of the most dominant weeks for a team this year. Wetmore is looking for win number 2 on the calendar, already having one at Daytona, and adding to the catalog with this victory would be critical. For Wetmore, it would be his 7th career victory in the Octane Series. To the inside goes Brad Patton on Blake Cannon. And all of a sudden, it's going to be Blake Cannon on the defensive rather than pulling on offense. Side by side into 1 and 2. How about that for Brad Patton? So Patton has it made as he gets up to 3rd. Brad is a driver who often starts at the back of the field intentionally to ramp up the challenge. Tonight he did that once again. He started in 35th. Now he's up 31 places to get up to P4. 29 laps to go. Coming across the back straightaway is Tom Wetmore leading with Ethan Lane then 2nd, Brad Patton 3rd, all of which single file. Scott Eckridge is going to have himself now to the inside. That's going to be for 9th place. Jacob Fife will lose that ordeal. It's going to be Eckridge getting the edge. A slight advantage now for Scott. He still isn't up there in the upper echelon of the top 10. Ross Cato and Kyle Cooper 10th and 11th further back. Watch now for Paul Mikolajczyk. He went down a pit road most recent of all, only 18 laps prior, and he's making gains continuously. His new rubber might be the differentiator between a top 15 finish for him and a top 5 performance. A lot of time remains for him to do so, at least in terms of race pace, 28 laps, and if he uses them all well, we could see at least a top 10. Mikolajczyk is coming out there, and he's looking for Kyle Cooper, Aaron Eads, and all those just ahead. He's the fastest man on the racetrack now, who is outside of the top 10. Without a doubt, he has the potential and the equipment to go further. He just needs to maximize it. Mikolajczyk watches and waits. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, it's side by side again. Ethan Lane surges under, gets the 51 to the middle groove, and takes the race lead back. Ethan Lane getting it over Tom Wetmore. It's their second lead swap in 15 laps, and that moves the 6 team up and ahead. Was that the death blow, or was it a sign of things to come? Still, we wait to see if it goes either way. 25 laps remaining. A move like that is going to be critical for any driver, and it looks like for Ethan Lane, most importantly, that's what he needed. Wetmore was able to swap by and get the lead beforehand, but it looks like no longer does he have the keys to the kingdom. Advantage of 0.3 of a second for Lane that time around. And it only grows as he comes across the line. 24 laps remaining. Brad Patton got up to third place, and it looks like while he's now not comfortable in that position, he still has the speed to go for more, only to see Blake Cannon get to his inside. Watch out now for Cannon. Dropping low is the 44. Blake with a surge to the bottom. 24 laps remaining for Blake Cannon. Talk about a surge to the inside and deep. It's going to get him up there side by side for podium placements. 23 laps remaining. Ethan Lane is still there. With 23 remaining and coming to only 22 laps to go, a little bit of contact down the back straight. Nolan Potter going at it with Blake Cannon. We're about to crank it up. Brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams, iRacing's best camera provider for 2025 and beyond. Whiplash Sim Cams has joined us at FTN Broadcasting to level up our game for the upcoming seasons of racing action. Thank you to Pit Stop TV for helping us out. If you'd like to try out their camera packages for free, samples are available on the Whiplash Discord server. Thank you for tuning in again to FTN Broadcasting, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. Let's crank it up now with 22 laps to go. Ethan Lane is now far and away. He's got himself a second up on Blake Cannon. Tom Wetmore's fallen back to third, and it looks like now Nolan Potter's got a shot at the podium. Now, notably, Wetmore's been the man that's fallen back. However, if Blake Cannon still has one more shot, he better make the most of the next coming 16 laps. This is do-or-die territory for the race win. 16 to go. Ethan Lane, now 119 laps into his pursuit for victory, finished third. Last night, the twin ring Motegi was not able to get back to victory after DJ Stagner and eventual race winner Blake Cannon got ahead of him. Lane All things considered, he drove a solid race, and he ran very similar in the first half of this race to how he did all night long last night. And it looks like instead, he's turned up the rate of aggression, rate of pushing to get him up to the front of the field. And I think that slight difference has been the biggest difference, of course, of all. Ethan Lane, that number 6 team, he's got it made. A slight adjustment in the way he's been racing goes from a podium to a victory. "14 laps remaining. Further on back now, Nolan Potter and Tom Wetmore still trying to go at it for third place. Nolan Potter is right there. It's about a 10th-and-a-half differentiator between their distances. A car length and a half maybe at most, but Wetmore even then hasn't been able to pull that much of a distance. Brad Patton is there. Zach Scrintinol as well. To the inside, Nolan Potter. Quarter panel rubbing. Couldn't get there entirely. Tom Wetmore instead actually surges out higher thanks to that minor adjustment. Now, Nolan Potter faces that pressure. It's going to be Zach Scrintinol coming through. Brad Patton ducks low, still can't get anything out of it. And Scott Eckridge watches. The top 10, all things considered, is pretty well put together. Woody Mayhem going at it now with Galen Gidman. This is the battle for 14th. Ryan Bean right there. Side by side, 12 laps to go, the final dozen to do it. Ethan Lane trying to break out, but the gap has been even between he and Blake Cannon. Although at this rate, I don't think he has to gain any longer. It just comes down to the difference between whether or not he holds his line. Wetmore, though, has to really fight off that Nolan Potter car. The 51 is trying to make it so both Roadhouse Racing drivers make it onto the podium. If Wetmore hangs on for the next remaining 12 laps, and now 11, he'd be able to, but it's going to be much easier said than done. Big contact for Tom Wetmore. He'll slide down the back straightaway, straighten out, but he'll now fall back to 8th. Hardly hung on to that, but Wetmore off of turn 2. Falls several positions at once. And for Tom, that's going to shoot him back from 3rd to P8, -5. Nolan Potter gets up to 3rd. And that's the difference between a podium and just hanging on for the top 10. Too close for comfort in the final moments. Nolan Potter. Now, tell you this much, he's up to 3rd place where he needs to be. He's gotten himself exactly what he wanted. Zach Scrintinol 4th. Brad Patton 5th. Tom Wetmore now wants to hang on to 8th place, but Paul Mikolajczyk, with maybe fresher rubber, has the advantage on the inside. Watch out now and see what happens for Paul Mikolajczyk. As he dives down to the bottom groove here, Wetmore falls further back. Tom now for 9th. Blake Cannon stays 2nd, but over the last 2 laps, he's lost 2 tenths. It looks like now every position firmly shaking up. Scott Eckridge is looking for another one on Brad Patton. They'll rub each other up the track. Brad goes high, Eckridge takes him higher, and they'll stay right where they are. 8 laps to go. This time through, we'll come to 7 next time around with Lane in control. He just got by Josh Gallagher, and with the more lap cars he has as a buffer, even safer his lead will be. 1 to green, that's the way they stay. Of course, 1 to green in regards to getting toward the tail end. This is the final stint, and it looks like unless there's another caution, we won't see any other that's similar. Pit stop strategy coming to an end. Ethan Lane and Blake Cannon have been equivalent on that strategy for just about half the race, but it looks like the winner of winners in that instance will be the number 44 no longer. Ethan Lane surging ahead and keeping that advantage. All things considered, Ethan Lane had to fight for it. Wasn't easy in the slightest. And it appears now that with 7 laps to go, he's got himself made all out. Yaflak number 6, no insurance tonight. He's kept it as clean as it gets. There's Zach Scrintinol. Take a look now as he tries to chase after Brad Patton. This will be for P4. Patton surging one final time. Patton coming up on Nolan Potter. 5 laps to go for third place now. Brad surges to the inside. Here we go again. Nolan Potter up top. Slowly but surely falls back. Brad Patton now makes that move. The number 7 gets up for third. Gaining now 32 places with 4 laps to go. Nolan Potter tries to go for the switchback maneuver. This is the final spot in the podium that's up for grabs. Zach Scrintinol still having a chance at his best finish of the season, and Scott Eckrich looking for another top 3. 4 laps remaining. Paul Mikolajczyk there too. Even Don Stevenson or Tom Wetmore have a chance. For Wetmore, of course, what a redemption it would be to climb the ladder, but it won't be easy. Patton now getting out. Scrintinol side by side. Eckrich looking to take it 3. 3 wide. Scrintinol contact, banging into the wall. That will send Scott down the order. He gets into the wall harshly, tries to get back into Paul. They'll rub each other up and down the track. Side by side becomes back end to front end. 3 laps to go. Are we going to see a wreck? We just might. Eckrich into Mikolajczyk. We're now in jeopardy of seeing overtime. 2 laps to go. Any incident from here could be very bad news. Tom Wetmore looking to pick up the pieces. This is the best chance he's had all night long. Racing redemption at his hands to go from perhaps as low as 9th up to maybe the top 5. If they wreck each other, it's still possible. But with 1 lap remaining, the white flag flying, Ethan Lane has been on cruise control for these final 40 laps. And it looks like today, nobody stood a chance. The number 6 team has already found victory this season, but it takes a few wins for this team to click. Now, Lane looking for his 4th, which will be the leading number for all drivers this season, tied only with Scott Eckrich. Win number 4, everything's bigger in Texas, and tonight the way he won it is exactly so. Ethan Lane collects the checkered flag from Fort Worth, winning at the Texas Motor Speedway, his 4th of the season, and he's moving 1 step closer to 20 on his Octane Series career. Now just 1 win away from the accolade. Ethan Lane extends the winningest driver record he already holds. What a drive tonight for Lane. Just a few minor tweaks from his strategy in the past few weeks take him from a top 5 contender to a bona fide winner in no time. And who wouldn't expect it from one of the only drivers on iRacing with a pro oval license? Take a bow and take a burnout as the 6 team celebrates. Lane is going to take it around the circuit and celebrate with style. Ethan collects victory in Texas. No stranger to the checkered flag. And getting it done once again for the Lone Star State. It'll be Ethan Lane over Blake Cannon, your pole sitter. The 2 combined led a total of 113 laps today out of 134, with Cannon leading more. Lane leading the final 52. Brad Patton finishes in 3rd with Nolan Potter 4th, Paul Mikolajczyk for 5th, Zach Scrintinol 6th, and Tom Wetmore picks up the pieces somewhat to hang on for 7th. Don Stevenson goes 8th, P9 will be Scott Eckrich, and Jared Davis rounds out the top 10. 11th place on the order will then and there be Ross Cato with Jacob Fife 12th, Woody Mayhem 13th, and Kyle Cooper P14. Brock Potter is just behind, but is Galen Gidman officially 15th. Potter is 16th. 17th place then and there will be the driver of the number 92. That is Bobby Keith. 18th is the number 18 of Cody Smith. And you'll have Randy Fiash, who is 19th today, with Eli Carr's P20. 21st place on the day will be Sam Nieto with Josh Gallagher 22nd, Kevin Bernheimer 23rd, Richard Smith 24th, and Chad Dillon 25th. 26th on the order tonight will then be, just immediately following, Ryan Bean in the 26 car. TJ Hanley on debut is quiet for 27th, and Alan Rawell is 28th in his first race of the season. Cole DeRozier's P29. Aaron Eads rounds out the top 30. From 30th on back, you'll have John DeBarro, Sean Kalist, Brett McClendon, Nicholas Ward, Nate Campbell, Matt Sisler, Brian Greenlee, and your 38th and final man is Brian Yazik in the number 55. This race comes to a close after 200 miles of action. Ethan Lane is again a winner, and once again, at the third waypoint of the season, more or less, he is the leading winner of all drivers. Combined so far, he and Scott Eckridge have collected 8 of 11 victories. And Ethan Lane is a very strong contributor to the lack of winning parity. He's done it once again. Let's get a word now from the number 16 who gets the job done and collects a victory from Fort Worth. Ethan Lane in the broadcast booth leading the final 52 laps of the day. That last stretch, the reset on tire, we thought it would be this advantage for you, Ethan. Instead, you took it and ran with it to collect your 4th of the season and a big victory from Texas as we start the second leg of the tour.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's something about these mile and a halves in this car that suit me really well. Yeah, strategy was important tonight. Clean air was important. And we got a lucky break with that caution when we were in second. We had 5 laps of fuel, I think, left in the tank because we pitted before that long run just to have a different strategy, and it ended up working out for us.
Early cautions, first and foremost, set you up to get the race lead working the new tire. You were quiet for the first 40 laps and surged big to get inside the podium. We had the first 15 laps under yellow. You went to pit road. A lot of the leaders chose not to. How important was it for you to have the new tire early on as you pushed for the top positions?
Well, I actually didn't change tires that pit stop. I was doing it for fuel because I knew tires later in the race would be important if you could stay out longer. And then have that like 5-6 lap tire advantage, which would be really, really important. But no, we saved a little bit that first run. It kind of got held up in the pack a little bit. That's how we fell behind the leaders so much, but we made it work in the end. We just had to outplay everyone, I guess.
And it all came down to that final stretch where you broke away. The only real competition at the tail end, Tom Wetmore going toe-to-toe with you, and he kept the fight on until about the final 20 laps. How was it for you battling head-to-head with Wetmore there? You think there was any advantage in regards to tire saving, or was there another factor at play?
Oh, yeah, no, there was definitely a big advantage. All you had to do was just maintain at least track position, and I had to maintain second, don't have any shot without killing the tires, and we did that. And then once I saw Tom start slipping off too, is when we kind of made our move to take the race lead back and just take control of the race.
With your 4th win on the way here, Ethan, got yourself momentum once again, pulling the victories together to fight for the title. Next up on the calendar, as we move on from Texas, we're going racing again, road course racing at that, with Watkins Glen. And interesting, we mentioned that it's going to be Watkins Glen week for both of our schedules, the Ignite and Octane Series. We spoke to you about it yesterday when it came to the Xfinity car, and it looks like a very similar case next week, but with the next gens. You think any more confidence with this car package compared to Monday's?
Not sure. This car package is going to be interesting because of the diffuser in the back. I can go in through the bus stop, trying to jump as much of the curb as possible and get it hooked back left without wrecking yourself. It's going to be interesting when the car slams back down to the ground, but I think we'll be decent. Definitely top 5 speed, I think. So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
From here on, there's a chance to collect more victories, but another big one at the mile-and-a-half circuits. Ethan Lane with his fourth, mastering the tire strategy, fading to the back, going to pit road, and still having the pace to beat. Any final comments you'd like to add here, Ethan?
Just thank you, Dave, for putting on these broadcasts. Everyone in Integrity, that long run was really fun coming through the field, different strategies and everything. Yeah, Blake kept me honest tonight. But yeah, no, good race from everyone. Fun race. Would have liked to see how that long run would have played out if we didn't have that caution during green flag stops.
Ethan Lane getting the job done from Fort Worth, Texas, and finding victory once more. Thank you again for stopping by.
Thank you.
Ethan Lane on the move. We'll move fourth with your second place driver, Blake Cannon. Cannon today led the most laps of anyone with 61 and collected the pole position. Close to perfection for that number 44 team. The only thing else he could have taken was one more position as he finishes out the week with an average finish of 1.5, almost sweeping one spot. Was the difference maker. Blake, second place nonetheless. How was it out there from Texas as you start from pole and finish on the podium?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good race. I mean, it's hard to be disappointed with the second place finish, but damn, man, I really wanted that one. And I just feel like it's another race that I let get away, just circumstantial.
And I think tonight, a lot of it came down to that strategy. The first half appeared to be all yours, keeping it up in front, and a caution at about the halfway marker made a difference. You had to claw your way back, going through lappers, cutting the distance down, but you think when it comes to you and your circumstance and defying the circumstance anyway, was there anything in particular you could have changed to make it happen?
Honestly, no. That's why I say tonight was just circumstantial. I've gave a couple of these races away so far this year, but tonight, to qualify on the pole and the lead early, and then I let Scott go, and then I passed him back and really opened up a huge gap between the whole field. So I don't really think there's anything I could have done different. I mean, Ethan and them guys that didn't have anything to lose, they pitted early when we had those string of cautions, and he was able to run longer, and it was just unfortunate that while I was on pit road, the caution came out. So trapped me a lap down, and then from there I just had to, like you said, just scratch and claw and fight my way back to the front. And it's just frustrating, man. These guys are really good, and you can't give them an inch. So momentum switches, and you lose control of the race, and you give it to Ethan, and this is what happens.
And the difference maker, the battle again between you and Ethan Lane. We saw it a lot last year. It went many a different way. Tonight, it swung in Ethan's favor. Now, we spoke to you and Ethan alike about this. Watkins Glen is next up on the calendar for both schedules here. We've seen you run strongly at these road courses, particularly with the Ignite Series. You've got a victory there before through the twists and turns. But the Octane Series, maybe less proven ground for you. How do you feel about taking the next gen back to Watkins Glen for maybe a chance to get some racing redemption?
Yeah, I haven't really run a whole lot with the next gen on Watkins Glen, so I'm going to have to put in some work this week and really get comfortable there. I mean, I put in a lot of work at Coda and was able to showcase. I had a really good run there. I was me and Ethan fought hard for second all day. So if I can do that again next week, I'll be pleased. Road courses aren't my strong suit by any nature.
Coming strong again, podium finish, and overall one of the best weeks any driver's had across both series. Blake Cannon, first in Japan, second in Texas. Anything else you'd like to leave with us here? Of course, the floor is yours.
Just got to thank my whole team at Roadhouse. Tom had a good run going, and I got to thank them guys for sticking behind me. So thanks to them. It's a pleasure to drive for them, and I'm glad that I'm able to showcase the Roadhouse banner week in and week out. Definitely would have liked to be one spot better tonight, but it just makes me more hungry for next week. So thank you and everybody at the broadcast. We appreciate all you do. Everybody at Integrity. I know we had some cautions throughout the night, but to be able to go a whole fuel stint under green like that is pretty impressive. So hats off to all the guys and all the admins, and shout out to my wife and Cannon Creations, and we'll see you again next week.
Roadhouse Racing putting together the pace this week and finishing it off with another second-place run. Blake Cannon, thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
Cannon on the move, one more driver we'd like to hear from, returning to some of his older ways. Brad Patton tonight chose not to take a qualifying time and took it from 35th on the starting grid up to 3rd place by the time we finished. It was a fierce fight to hold on to P3, Brad, but you clawed through the field and you kept yourself in that fight until the very last moment. Up 32 positions, the biggest mover of all, and looks like tonight overall a big success.
Yeah, it was a pretty good run there at the end. It was fun racing Nolan. I'm kind of disappointed that the lap car got in the way there. I think we still would have been side by side. But overall, great race. It was fun learning the setup for the first 75 laps with all the cautions and that. It was kind of hard to get into a rhythm. But once you could get into a rhythm, you can finally start making some moves.
And unlike the drivers who finished ahead of you, you had that different story, of course, of coming from all the way in the back of the field to make it up. You've done it a lot beforehand in previous seasons, but not a lot of times we've seen it out of you making it from the 30s up to the top 5 so far in this campaign. Texas, 1.5-mile track, it's tight racing, and it's hard to pass compared to others. Was there any sort of trick you used to get your way up there or anything strategy-wise that really helped you out?
Well, I seen a lot of people were staying in 4th gear. So for the start of the run there, I would start in 5th gear, just pretty much cruise and not try to burn the right rear off of it, which the first pit stop was unsuccessful. I burnt it off. That was a learning moment. And then after that, it was just figuring out where to shift at so you can maintain the most grip going on to corner entry and try not to slide the tires like I was doing previously. So I was watching Ethan there. I was following him for a little bit, seeing he had a little bit more entry speed than me. And from there, I was just like, well, I might as well just stay down in 4th gear going into the corner and see what happens. And luckily, everything worked out. I went back to my old strategy there at the end and just kept it in 4th gear and just tried to have some fun there.
Now, you mentioned, of course, the gearing and doing things different from most drivers on the restarts, but also of note tonight, track conditions actually got a little bit milder as the night went on. Over 100 degrees track temp to begin. As the checkered flag flew, it was only 86 degrees Fahrenheit. You think there were any issues with grip as the night progressed, or was there anything with the tire that felt of particular importance?
I felt that the tire was, once you wore it down, it was hard to maintain it through the corners, especially 1 and 2. 1 and 2, the car would just slide. So I don't know. I was just trying everything with like brake bias and letting off a little bit sooner, diving it in harder, just trying to get anything to get that center rotation. But as you said, the track got colder. It didn't feel like it. It felt like the track got hotter to me. So I was just sliding everywhere. I don't know how Ethan and Blake were so fast there at the end. Probably because they weren't battling that much with anybody, but I felt like if we had a nice little shot at them, I could have at least kept up and maybe made it interesting for a different place besides 3rd.
Nevertheless, best finish so far, getting yourself up to the top 3 and showing you've got that pace even from way far out. Next up on the calendar, Watkins Glen. The road courses, I think first and foremost, they call for track position, but they also call for consistency, removing mistakes and keeping the emphasis on good laps every lap. What's it going to take to now bring some of this great momentum into the next coming races and pull stronger from here?
I think a top 10 for me at that track. Maybe I'll say top 12. I'll be happy. And I will be qualifying for that. That's a definite. Road courses and I don't usually get along. So anytime I can try to start more near the front to give myself the best opportunity to score points because I need them, that's what I'm going to do. The oval tracks, you can kind of work your way through the field if you need to. It's hard. I mean, there's a lot of very talented drivers in here, and you just got to pick and choose your battles at the right time. But on a road course, that is not where I'm good at. So start up in the front, hopefully maybe top 10, top 15-ish, and try to maintain that, and I'll be happy. That would be a win for me in my books.
Emphasis on that flag-to-flag racing as we go back to Watkins Glen. But until then, Brad Patton, strong running and gaining the most positions of anyone tonight from Texas. Any more comments you'd like to add? We'd love to hear.
I'd like to thank you, David, for doing the broadcast. I got to thank the Octane Series for the 11 or 12-year run I've been doing with them. Got to thank Juana Goon's organization, OG Gear, our new sponsor, SRL, FBS Heaven, Sim Motion, Pro Powder Paint, and thank all the fans for watching. Hi, Nancy.
Brad Patton coming away big from 35th in qualifying to 3rd at the Checkered Flags Fall. Thank you for stopping by once again.
Appreciate it, brother. Have a good night.
With Brad on the move, you've gotten the word now from your podium finishers. Patton, of course, going from all the way back in qualifying to a successful 3rd place finish. 1st to 2nd, Blake Cannon with a great week overall, and 15th to 1st, twin podiums alike. Ethan Lane coming away with victory from the Texas Motor Speedway. And so concludes a week of racing. From the Highline Racing League is next on the calendar, Thursday, Iora Cup Series as well. But for the Integrity Racing League, we're off for another week of waiting. Next week is another doubleheader. As we did the week prior with Talladega, we'll bring it back to Watkins Glen and make it Schuyler County, the host for both the Ignite Series and Octane Series, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday and Tuesday night respectively. Until that point, you've been watching coverage from the virtual Texas. From FTN Broadcasting, I've been your host, David Troitz, commentating and producing tonight's race, the 11th of the season for the 2025 Integrity Octane Series. Congratulations to Ethan Lane on collecting today's victory. We hope to see you back next Tuesday night with the Watkins Glen International Grand Prix. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic night.